So, yeah, does everyone know, or could we put up whakataka hou? Does everyone know that? Well, we'll give it a crack. Join me if you can in voice, otherwise in spirit. Inoi tātou. Whakataka hou ki te uru, whakataka hou ki te tūna, kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā tara tara ki tai. E hi ake ana te atakura. Hei tio, hei huka, hei hou, ti hei, mauri ora.
Mauri ora tātou. Nā reira e tuake nei, I raro te maru tō tātou, matutanangi e mihi kawana ki a koutou. Kia ora tātou, ata Māria. On behalf of Mana Whenua, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to one and all on this beautiful Hawke's Bay morning. Linda, did you bring the sun with you, or was the sun already here?
We will go with it. I brought it with me.
So, ka need to be kia koutou. And of course, it's been a long week as we reflect on the past week anyway of the passing of our King Tuheitia Potatau Te Whiro Tuawhitu. And I think one statement that he makes, and I've been to most of the huia mutu that he has attended, and he always says at the end of that hui, he mentions that very important word of kotahitanga, unity. And I believe that what I've seen over the past few years, all our councils have got that whakaaro, that idea of kotahitanga, and I think we were always moving in that direction. And so I do want to acknowledge Keith, you and your council, Napier City Council, for your endorsement of Māori wards for next year. So ka nita mihi kia koe me tō poari.
O hahitanga.
And not only you, your council, but of course the week before, Martin, tēnā koe. Of course you and the regional council, thank you for your endorsement. And of course the week before, Tania, tēnā koe, Tania.
Marcus, kia ora.
And Marcus. And thank you for your endorsement too. So I think for me, for all of us, kotahitanga, I think that's the way we should be heading. And so, kia kaha mai.
And Central Hawke's Bay, Tamatea yesterday.
Sorry, Aroha mai in Central Hawke's Bay.
Yeah.
So we have the full package.
Yes.
So that's awesome, isn't it? Okay, so on behalf of Mana Whenua, ka nita mihi kia koutou. Can I also mention that besides our Kingi Tuheitia, we had a woman who worked at the council who also passed away last week. Her name was Kate Woods. So I'd like to acknowledge those people in particular. Nā reira, apiti hono tātai hono rātou te hunga mat kia rātou, moe mai rā, moe mai rā. Apiti hono tātai hono, tātou te konoi ore kia tātou ko hui mai nei, tēnā koutou, a kia ora tātou katoa. Kia ora.
Kia ora, api ngā mihi o whakaaro. Thank you very much for sharing those important messages and very sage and timely with us in the spirit of kotahitanga. We're going to move to public forum very briefly, and we've got a guest online and with us today, who I'll introduce presently. Firstly, however, just need to go through a bit of housekeeping. This meeting is being live streamed on the Council's Facebook page and recorded for viewing at a later date on our YouTube channel. In an earthquake, drop cover and hold, and if the shaking is long or strong, once it's subsided, we leave the building through the nearest exit, and there are 3 exits available, and we proceed along Dalton Street, through Tiffin Park, up to Cameron Road.
Follow you?
Yes, I'll put on a cup of tea at home when we get there. If an emergency sounds, immediately evacuate the building through the nearest exit and proceed to the assembly area at the other end of the building, out here on the corner. and the wharapeaku through the door and out to the right. I think that is it in terms of housekeeping. We have an apology from David Murray and from Bridget, but Alex is here, and welcome, Alex, in her place, and delighted to have you with us representing Te Whatu Ora Te Mato a Māori. All right. Are there any other apologies? Okay, would someone like to move that the apologies be received?
Yes, Sandra. My apologies.
Sandra,
Yes,
all right.
Sandra. Happy to move.
Okay, any seconder? All in favour?
Aye.
Anyone against? Okay, any conflicts of interest? Okay, before we move to public forum, one last piece of business, confirmation of the minutes of 12 July 2024. Is anyone willing to move that they're a true and correct record for adoption? Thank you, Councillor Kerr.
Happy to second,
Councillor Taylor.
Mr Chair. Just wanted to mention though, I was online for some of the meeting. I did leave at some point, but I can't see in the minutes that I left. Apologies if I've missed it, but there was nothing in there that worried me about not being online, but I just thought it was important to note that I did leave. I did stop being online at some point in that.
All right, so you started by being online.
And then I left the meeting.
At what time?
I don't recall what
Yeah.
time. I just thought it would come up in here.
We need to record that. Yeah, I see. It says online for part of, we need to say online for part of meeting.
Yes.
All right. With that correction, we've had a mover and a seconder. I think we can just say all in favour of adopting the minutes with that correction.
Aye.
Anyone against? Okay. Well, public forum. Sorry for the delay in getting to you, Julia, joining us from Christchurch, I believe. We have only just introduced this public forum opportunity recently through an amendment to our standing orders as a council, but I think it's a great way of staying connected with communities of concern that have a transport focus. And it has to be relevant to our kaupapa as a transport committee, and I'm satisfied that it is. So Julia, invite you to introduce yourselves. We're essentially a committee, as you'd probably understand, of a mix of local body representatives from each of the councils, from the Transport Agency, as well as voting members with advisory representatives from police, freight and Automobile Association and the what used to be called DHB as well. So that's us, and we've got Api here who's representing the Māori committee from a mana whenua perspective. That's who you are joining here today online, and we'd love to hear from you, so the floor is yours.
Well, Morena, you're all very important people after that introduction. Thank you for having me, and please continue the opportunity to allow community to come and speak with you directly, because the issue I'm raising with you today is decades old and it needs rectifying immediately. Lives are at stake, and yeah, kotahitanga, that is just a beautiful message with respect to unity. We have united the equestrian world. We are uniting stakeholders who are tasked with reducing injury, serious harm and death on the roads. We are uniting in terms of the transports legislation to have horse riders formally recognised as a vulnerable road user and included and considered at tables like yours, at local council and at central government level. For far too long, horse riders have sat on the fringe, and classed as an other road user, there are no benefits to having that label whatsoever. You're not included in road safety messaging or education campaigns, and I know you can reflect personally on whether you've ever seen any messaging around how to approach and pass a horse and rider on the road. No one captures any data on the incidents unless you die or have a dead animal. And the incidents are horrific and they are frequent. And personally, as a former journalist, I've opened up a world of sharing in the equestrian community, and I cannot sit and listen to what I'm hearing and do nothing. And so we are engaging with stakeholders. The trucking sector are very responsive and are sharing the pass wide and slow message, which is a worldwide message, and people get it. Horse riders are infiltrated across the country, and I'm not even needing to explain my situation when I call Ritchie's or the Bus Association or the AA or New Zealand Police. People get it, and it is so heartening because every single day this campaign is growing and the support is wonderful. We have a petition circulating and it will go to Parliament on the 15th of October. My 12-year-old daughter and myself will deliver it. It has cross-party political support. I have written to every local government mayor and chair and political person who holds a local government or transport hat, and the feedback from parliamentary level is awesome. The Deputy Prime Minister will stand on the steps and receive the petition, as well as National Party representatives who were first in line. Waka Kotahi has accepted our offer to look at road safety targeted messaging that we are going to create, because the best phone call I've ever received was from Eve Howell, who used to work in the road safety team at Waka Kotahi for 8 years doing this very work. And she is a rider and she gets it. And so because of her skill base, we can actually offer stakeholders effective messaging straight away. And the Pass Wide and Slow slogan we are rolling out on VisVest to our riding community. We're having them printed at the moment, and we appreciated funding from a trucking company, ProTrans, immediately when they heard what we were doing, because there is no funding in sorts of committees like yours, and we know that it will make a difference because we're already getting riders who are sharing their stories of motorists moving over, slowing down. In terms of 14th and 15th of September, we're participating for the first time as a country in a worldwide initiative, Pass Wide and Slow, to educate motorists on what we require of them. And I am so stoked to see volunteers from across the country, 41 registered rides, the first time New Zealand's participated alongside South Africa, Canada, America, the UK and Australia. So if you can show your support, by all means do, because cyclists, walkers, any other vulnerable road users are more than welcome to join. But, you know, horse riders really need to see you guys. You guys are, you know, in positions of influence, and that is why I've come to you today, because you are the meat in the sandwich. We're bringing an issue to you, and we would like you to elevate it and support us by way of writing to the Minister of Transport, the Ministry of Transport, messaging that we do have a legitimate case to be considered very seriously. The petition itself had been verified by the Parliamentary Services, so every statement I make has to be verified, and there is no formal definition in our transport literature. And so leaving it up to interpretation and leaving horse riders with an other label, which has no benefits in messaging, and the fact that the theory and the practical licensing system doesn't include how to approach and pass a horse, means we have got a community of road users, new drivers, foreign drivers, people that come out to the rural sector who don't know what to do when they see a horse. And you know too that there is a level of aggression on the roads. So you combine all of that on an animal with a mind of its own, and for every near miss, we know damn well that it's a potential for serious harm or fatality. So I hope that you can hear my message loud and clear. And I just wanted to let you know that your equivalents around the country, I'm speaking to every single one of them. There are 11. I've already received support from all of them that I have spoken to. That's Auckland Transport Board, Auckland RTC, Nelson Tasman RTC, Canterbury RTC, where my daughter gave a 3-minute speech and I wasn't even needed. She had support straight away. And Greater Wellington, really appreciated the leadership there from the chair, who wrote to the minister herself, as well as a committee letter of support. So I leave it to you as to what you think is fair and reasonable, but just really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, and within your capacity, AA or trucking sector, New Zealand Police, we're more than available to assist in road safety messaging or comms in any way, because we know it's having a direct effect on road user behaviour already, and we're doing it effectively on our own with no budget.
Well, look, congratulations, Julia. That was a very, I guess, clear and forceful and compelling presentation. I'll liaise with our road safe team in terms of preparing a letter of support for the classification of equestrians as a vulnerable road user category for all of the reasons you shared. I will discuss that with the committee later in the meeting to ensure that I've got their backing to do that. We have run out of time. Can I just say welcome, Mayor Little. It's great to see you, and I didn't acknowledge your presence here earlier. If there was one absolutely burning question that you can't live without asking, you've got that opportunity from floor one. No, gone. But you have been heard. We will discuss it later, and I'll get advice from the staff about how we can best support you ahead of is it the 15th of September?
14th and 15th of September is the awareness rides, and the 14th of October is when the
14th of
petition
October.
closes, and my daughter and I deliver it to politicians on the 15th. And can I just say, Chair, sorry, 31 equestrian organisations are standing in support of this. This is Te Hapiri Hoiho, Equestrian Sport New Zealand, New Zealand Pony Club, RDA, Polo, Thoroughbred Racing, Harness Racing. You think horses, and we've got the support.
All right.
Kia ora.
Thank you. Message received.
Thank you
And
for your
thank you for
time.
taking the time, and congratulations for all the work you're doing for your community. So
Appreciate it.
we'd now like to invite our next very special guest, Norm Brown, to come and talk to us. And I think, Councillor Kerr, you're going to introduce him.
Welcome, Norm. If you'd like to come to the top of the table there. To committee members, Norm has taken the challenge of supporting, in particular, rural communities with the proposed loss of primary school and secondary school buses. We're living in cyclone-affected communities, and the impact of what may be seen as minor bus changes has had a huge impact on communities, Waimarama through to Putorino, Te Puhui, and through into the central city. So a hand over to Norm. Welcome, Norm.
Thank you, and thanks for letting me speak. I'm not good at it. I come from on the skyline where those wind generators are. But the main catalyst for what I'm about to speak is the downsizing and the cancellation of the bus services in the rural schools, but also, so there's two effects, also the cancellation of 8 50-seater buses from Bayview and Clive into high schools. So the catalyst of it is that these kids are classed as ineligible because their closest school is Colenso College. We won't go into Colenso College, that's Ministry of Education problem, but they are using our kids to try and straighten out a problem. Adults, kids, families have voted with their feet and don't want to go there. So my message is fix the college so that people want to go there. So what's happened to our communities is it means that families have got to decide within the next few weeks whether to not school their kids. And that's a viable one that they are looking at. They've already told some truancy people not to come up. They'll get abused or thrown in a tomo. The other one is that they stop work.
Don't you take your time, there's some water there if you need it.
They stop work to educate the kids. Then they get the stoplights. Then they have to move to town. I've done that myself and that's horrible. It's horrible. The other option is that they move to town, educate the kids. The other option is to sell up their businesses out there. That affects your contractors, all those. And they move to town where there's no housing and no employment. This is the effect that's happening. I found out last night, if they want to register their kids for correspondence, they have to do it at least 8 weeks. And we've got Christmas coming. But over the next month, the breaking point for these people who've just been through Gabriel is this month. It's this month. A lot of people sitting here say it won't affect us. It will. You've probably got 400 families in the rural primary school areas that it will affect. You've got 400 kids from these 850-seater buses that it will affect. Now, if you don't believe me, go to the Bayview Facebook page. There's a lady in there that said, my daughter wants to do a speech at school on what the effects will be. Can you please tell me how many kids you've got and what effects it will have? There's 80 responses to that. 75 of them, I would say, are families. 124 kids will be affected. The more interesting part is no one explained what their problems will be. They're too embarrassed, too traumatised, or just hate it. This is the problem we've got.
Right.
We're looking or trying to get the MOE to reverse all the stuff that's going on. Come and talk to the people affected. So far, they haven't talked to us. Still won't talk to us. Still won't answer emails. The ministers won't answer us. No one is talking to us. And that needs to happen. It should have happened before. Some of these bus runs have been going for generations. We've got one family that has to walk their kids 4 kilometres down a logging road and then 5 kilometres down State Highway 5 because they don't have a licence or a car. I've said I'll walk with them. We have other parents who are going to get learner licences for the kids coming in from Putarino. So they're going to come down State Highway 2. Now that road's a killer and it's not going to change anytime soon. We know that. So you're going to have problems there as the kids come into school. When they get to school, there is no parking. All of you probably know where Napier Girls is and Sacred Heart. So Napier Girls is not an eligible school, Sacred Heart is. They use the same bus stop. There is no parking. They can't park another 100 or 200 cars. Napier Boys is the same. In fact, they're starting to get car thefts now already. So there is a problem. I'm sorry I don't speak so well, but
I think you've
Thanks.
done,
Spoke really well.
done an immensely good job. You've conveyed a lot of important messages to us. We have got MOE reps here for our workshop this afternoon, and we will faithfully pass on everything you've just said to us. I'm dismayed to hear that you've had radio silence in return in terms of attempts to engage. We'll certainly put that on the table. Councillor Kerr, is there anything else you think we should be taking to the MOE reps?
just one thing on the rural farming side. It's going to remove all your middle management.
Right.
That's going to disappear as their kids become, and then they won't be able to get people to come in.
Okay.
And contractors are going down. Your emergency services, you know, we have 15 in our emergency services there, and there's probably 4 or 5 turn up at a time because they're all out doing stuff.
Understand.
And we get called out once a week, average. You know, it's going to downsize all that. You know, we opened State Highway 5 for 4 wheels within a day and a half. We won't have that.
Understand. Look, we've got Mayor Little's got a question for you, and I'll come back to you, Councillor Kerr.
Yeah, not probably more just a, hey, look, great presentation. You're not saying anything we don't know, unfortunately. Just, you know, what's happening in the education is happening in Te Whatu Ora is now. We're going backwards, everything we're doing. We've been fighting this for years in Wairoa. Kids, you know, trying to get to schools and that. Homeschooling's not the answer for a lot of parents. Some parents are really good at it. We've always said if we did it to our kids, we probably would have murdered them all by now, because it's very hard work, you know, because it's a specialist job to homeschool. So yeah, totally agree, but something needs to be done about it. Some communities are lucky, they might have a fairly wealthy member in the community or a farm or a big farm can pay for the school bus, but that's just not acceptable. And kids' education, no matter where you live in New Zealand, shouldn't be compromised, and that's what's happening. So well done.
Thank you, Mayor Little. And Norm, we will put our shoulder to this issue this afternoon with the Ministry. Councillor Kerr, anything you wanted to say before we
Just
come
to
back to the table?
summarise,
Yeah.
there are no boarding places available in Napier or Hastings. So there's children that wish to attend boarding school, they just can't get in. There's families from Portorino like that. And I understand you can't register to be homeschooled if you're over the age of 16.
Right.
So if you're already in NZTA level 2 or 3, you lose your school bus and you can't access school, that's the end of school. So some pretty powerful statements coming out of our communities. But well done, Norm.
Thank you very much, Norm. And I know that wasn't easy for you, but you did an extraordinary job for your community, as you do, with all the work you've been shouldering on their behalf.
Thank you.
All right, look, that went slightly over time, but I do think it's important if someone wants to speak to us that we hear them, and we're better informed and able to act on their behalf accordingly. We have our information items now to move through to item 5, which is the just to foreshadow. You know, the big discussion for us today is the news around the funding secured or otherwise from our Regional Land Transport Plan bid, and we will be dealing with that in the workshop, but we need to get through our standard agenda BAU items first. So we'll move through this pretty quickly so that we can leave as much time as possible for the workshop this afternoon after we've dealt with the Ministry of Education. So item 5, who's going to speak to the paper for item 5, which is...
I will, Chair.
thank you, Bryce. Fire away.
Good morning. So look, generally I'll take the paper as read. This is just a standing agenda item with the Regional Technical Advisory Group Program Tracker. I'll just briefly run through each of the key work streams and just open for any questions if there are any. So, of course, as the Chair alluded to, Regional Land Transport Plan, that process has come to an end for the time being, and we'll be discussing the initial allocations later on today. The regional speed management planning, so we did develop a regional submission on the proposals during the consultation period. As I understand it, that has been circulated to the committee. At this point in time, we are not aware of any further progress or next steps, so we'll be bringing any new advice or changes or anything of that nature to the committee once that's all clear. RoadSafe Hawke's Bay, we do have an agenda item up next for that, which is a bit of a year in review around activities that have happened across the region. Transport emissions reduction plan, so that's largely baked into relevant plans such as the Regional Public Transport Plan, Regional Land Transport Plan and others where appropriate. The active transport work stream, admittedly not a huge amount of progress has been made on that to date. The intention is to reignite that later on this year. The Regional Public Transport Plan implementation, so internally we've been working through the next steps of that and what the options and opportunities are, and so that work is certainly going to be continuing with great speed. The one item that isn't on there is that, of course, we're waiting for the National Land Transport Plan allocations to really get a view of what the TAGS work program might look like for the next, say, 12 to 18 months. Now that the NLTP is adopted, we will go away and look at what those work streams might be, and we will likely come back to the 6th of December meeting with an updated program of work for the region. So just I'll pause there and open for any questions.
Thank you. Before questions, I just note a couple of things. The submission that was lodged on the speed limits rule was sent around again to everyone yesterday. And I forgot to mention when we were dealing with the minutes, you've also received a copy of the letter that I was charged with sending regarding the expressway form and function approach. So you would have seen that as well. Questions for Bryce on this paper, noting that it's by way of overview of a number of other work streams as well. Any questions? Sounds like we're all reasonably clear with that. Could someone move then that this paper be received? I've actually got the resolution we need here. That the Transport Committee receives and notes the Regional Transport Program September 2024 update staff report. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Taylor, seconder, Councillor Kerr. All in favour?
Aye.
Anyone against? Carried. Thank you. Now, RoadSafe Hawke's Bay, item 6. Who's going to speak to this?
That will be myself and Liz, Chair, and Russell as well, if he would like to.
When you're speaking to this, I would like you to give us a bit of a sense also on how we can best support the vulnerable user category issue that's just raised, so that I can put to the committee whether we might write in support of that petition. So if you cover that off as well, please.
Absolutely. Would you prefer us to cover that off after the presentation?
After this one. Just please don't forget in case I do.
Perfect. No, absolutely can. So look, generally we'll take the paper as read. All of the items in the paper we're going to go through in this presentation, but we thought it was quite timely to just present a bit of a year in review of RoadSafe. We're conscious that, of course, we present papers at every Transport Committee, but we've never really provided a good view of the activities that are actually carried out across our region. So we've got a bit of a snippet here of some of the key things that have happened over the last 12 months, more or less. And this will provide a bit of a window into what is planned to an extent for the next 3 years through this 24 to 27 NLTP period. Now, to my left, I fortunately have Liz Schlaracki, who is our absolute RoadSafe gem across the region. And so Liz is certainly the one out there doing the mahi. She's doing the doing, seeing everything at the coalface. So look, the two of us will go through this presentation and we'll try and keep it reasonably brief so we can move on to subsequent items and the workshop. However, the previous committee, we discussed in the paper the Youth Expo that was held in May this year. Now, that's actually the first time that we've held the Expo in person for 2 or 3 years, due to, of course, a range of different things, cyclone, COVID before that, etc. And as we pointed out, we had over 2,000 students through during the week, targeting years 11 to 13. Now, fortunately, we did get a very nice overview and I guess wrap-up video developed during the Expo, and so hopefully that will play.
My name's Andy Clinton. I'm from the Eastern District Police Road Policing Team. It's my privilege to welcome you all along this morning to the Hawke's Bay Youth Road Safety Expo for 2024. What we're trying to do this week is engage with our young people as they begin their driving journey and make them aware of some of the risks that they may encounter in relation to seatbelts, cell phone use, alcohol and speed.
Kia ora, I'm Josh Klutz from Hatehone St John on Hawke's Bay. I'm here at the Road Expo this week to educate young drivers on road safety.
My name's Chris Lepine. I'm a Senior Constable with the Hawke's Bay Police. I'm here at the Hawke's Bay Road Safety Expo because I'm passionate about road safety in our community.
I'm Jason Broom and I'm a Station Officer at the Hastings Fire Station. I'm proud to be part of this expo where we're teaching our youth to make better choices on the road.
My name's Karen, I'm a Senior Nurse at the Emergency Department in Hawke's Bay Hospital. I'm here at the Expo today to try and raise awareness of the aftermath of dangerous driving.
Hi, we're the Road Safe Hawke's Bay team. The Expo is a great opportunity for you as our future drivers to come and learn some skills and knowledge around how to keep yourself and other road users safe.
And can I just, a failure on my part, a real special welcome to Liz. It is great to have you with us in person today. We're not sure if you know everyone here. We haven't had Liz in our midst for a while, but we've heard a lot about the great work that you do. So thank you for being here and just acknowledging you for all of that.
Thanks, Martin. No, it's lovely to be here, and like Bryce said, for those of you that don't know me, I am Liz, and I have been at Road Safe for nearly 8 years actually, and those of you that do know me know that I can talk about road safety till your ears fall off. So, I love that little video. I think it actually shows really quite clearly what a huge event the Expo is, and pretty much what I say around the opportunity for those young drivers who may have no exposure to road safety messages before their driving career starts. It's really, really important. There's two parts to the Expo, the presentation part and the activity part. The little pictures here you see are of some of the activities offered by a variety of stakeholders. Waka Kotahi, ACC, the DHB, unfortunately they couldn't attend this year, but it's around skills and knowledge and increasing that awareness for those young drivers. So yeah, that in a nutshell. Sorry, I'll be quiet now because otherwise I end up going blah.
So we'll just go on to fatigue stop. So these are, this is a particular activity, we call it, that has been a standing item for quite a period of time on the Road Safe program of work. So what we've got some pictures there of is the large fatigue stop that's carried out on State Highway 5 every Labour weekend. Liz will be able to talk to it a lot more than I possibly can, but there is also a series of smaller fatigue stops that are carried out across the region as well.
Yep. So just to paint a little picture of that, we target travellers that are coming into Hawke's Bay over the long weekend often. It's based on the brief intervention model. So basically we're trying to talk to people when they're doing that behaviour, potentially speeding, no seatbelt, etc., but also travelling long distances. So we talk about fatigue. It's something in New Zealand that we're actually all really good at not taking the time out to stop. We want to get to our destination. So just to give you an idea of some of the numbers from last year's fatigue stop that we did at Labour weekend. So the police breathalyzed 1,000 people or nearly, it was just under, it was nearly 1,000 people breathalyzed. Of those people breathalyzed, only 2 showed alcohol, and they were then, whatever the process is, Ange, you could probably talk to that, checked off. But so then we have a team of road safety promoters on the road with the police. Once they've done their little piece, we have a brief intervention with those travellers, talk to them around how far have you come, how far are you going, give them some little information that we give them, and invite them to stop. So we estimated, because we don't have the same number of the staff alongside the police, we probably had about 700 interventions with drivers. And then we also invite people to come in, take a break. We give the driver a cup of coffee, and 96 vehicles came into our fatigue stop. So it is, the beauty of having a fatigue stop like that is then you have those further conversations where you're not just talking about fatigue, you're talking about all of the other road safety risks that go along with it. So they are really a great opportunity to engage with the public.
And I will also just chime in there and say that Liz and the team do a separate series targeting heavy transport, so fatigue stops up around Raupanga, and those are quite effective every 6 weeks, more or less.
Yeah, and joint cross-regional stuff. I'm doing one on the 18th of September with Plenty, so yeah.
Police checkpoints. So this is going to be a significant feature of the Road Safe programme of work going forward, particularly for the next 3 years. And I'll let Liz talk to the detail of these, but they are happening increasingly regularly. So whether that's an actual checkpoint, like an impairment checkpoint, or more of a spotting operation that may be done in collaboration with police to spot distraction or seatbelt use or lack thereof. And so we're going to see probably quite a few more of these in the coming weeks, months and years, but I'll let Liz talk a bit more about them in detail.
The beauty about these, similarly to the fatigue stops, it's an opportunity to talk to people about, if we call it the summer series, as we head in towards Christmas, where people are socialising a bit more, and it's just getting that in front of people's mind and thinking about what are your plans when you're socialising. So, and it's a feel-good situation, you know, often these people are not doing any offence. It's a routine breathalyse check with the police, they do their magic, and then us as the road safe team, we have a conversation around what are your plans when socialising, etc., etc. Give them some handout information, which they take away happily. But the spotting operations, we identify cell phones and seatbelts. If we're doing that kind of spotting, we call it through so that the police are then really targeting what they're doing. One of the biggest deterrents to not wearing your seatbelt is actually receiving an infringement notice. So that aligns perfectly for us with Waka Kotahi asking us to support police to carry out their roles. It actually frees up them staff to be available to do the actual processing. So yeah, very busy over the summer period, not so much in the winter. Obviously safety comes into it with being out on the roadside and stuff.
Another activity that we've got on the books, and over the past sort of 12 months we've really just started to get into this, but the intent is to accelerate this, particularly over the next 3 years, is a business road safety program. So one was conducted a few months ago.
When did we do that? A month ago? Yeah, a month and a half?
With, in collaboration with Connect down in Central Hawke's Bay for the Central Ones business. So this is actually another little video which we'll show in a minute. But what you'll see through that video is a range of quite engaging and effective activities, you know, showing the effects of impairment, showing the effects of distraction and so on and so forth. So we'll just quickly play that.
On the open road, on the open road, yeah, on the open road. Yeah, I've traveled all around the globe, seen new places, people remember stories I've been told. I've been hot and bothered in the land of ice and frozen in the rain. But nothing comes close to the way I feel when I'm on the open road again. Up from blood, yeah. In the car, go to Temporal to freshen up. Oh, I swim at Lake Wakatipu. Manganui, Wanganui, Pokakoe, driving slowly, singing all the way home. Kaingaroa, Onga Onga, Otrahanga, Kongaroa, all the places I'd love to go. Yeah, I've tasted finest food known to me, but nothing's better than a fresh feed from the sea. I've been hot and bothered in the land of ice and frozen in the rain, but nothing comes close to the way I feel when I'm on the open road again. Up from Lovo, yeah. In the car, go to Timaru to freshen up. I'll swim at Lake Wakatipu. Manganui, Wanganui, Pokakoe, driving slowly, singing all the way home. Kaingaroa, Onga Onga, Otrahanga, Kongaroa, all the places I'd love to go. Tiararoa, first to see the light.
Oh, sorry.
It seemed incredibly long, didn't it?
Yes, but yeah, so that sort of a program is something that we do want to expand out to, particularly some either key industries or key businesses across the region, particularly those that may have more seasonal peaks than others in the first instance, or may be more prevalent, like, for example, just pulling one out of the air, Unison utilities companies and the contracting business they're around on the roads quite a
Can
bit.
I just add something to that? The beauty of this business kind of workshop program that Bryce and I have talked about, it aligns with our strategy where we actually want to start having the conversation around the smoko table about road safety. We don't want it's this other group that should be talking about road safety. Actually, it's all of us, and we think that this is where we're going to get a good in, aren't we? Yeah.
One of the other ones is child restraint clinics, which again, over the last 12 months, we've really just sort of started leaning into. We've been fortunate enough to secure the services of a very experienced child restraint technician, and that has resulted in a few standing child restraint clinics across the region with a view to accelerate those. So I'll just let Liz talk a little bit more about what those look like.
Yeah, so we currently have underway a free monthly check-in clinic in Central Hawke's Bay and one in Flaxmere. We're working hard with Amy Orr at Plunkett to secure what used to be the child restraint rental scheme at the Plunkett Hub in Onikawa. We've just got a couple of issues with the car park usage and stuff, just trying to clarify that. But we really need to get one underway in Wairoa and one underway in Hastings as well. So we're still working hard to get that across the line, but we're definitely getting the better buy-in from the stakeholders around providing a venue for it. That's one of our stumbling blocks. So yeah, hugely important.
One particular area that's had quite a bit of attention over the last, certainly the last 12 months, but probably the last 2 years is motorcyclists. So they are very overrepresented in crash and serious injury statistics in our region in particular. So Liz and the team have developed this crash card initiative, which is the first one in the country, and rolled that out. You may recall last year we brought that to the committee and highlighted that. That was rolled out in Motorcycle Awareness Month, which I believe is this month?
September, yep.
And culminated in a few joint initiatives across borders. But I'll just again hand over to Liz to talk in a little bit more detail about them. But these motorcycle initiatives will also form quite a big part of our work program in the next 3 years.
The beauty of the crash card for us predominantly, whilst it's a great little tool or piece of kit for the rider to have should they be involved in a crash, that a first responder can actually have access to that information straight away. For us as a road safety promoter, they're a really useful engagement tool to talk about the Ride Forever program. A rider's 45% less likely to be involved in a crash if they've completed a Ride Forever course. There's lots of riders that come back to riding after a long period of not riding, you know, as a young man or young person, you might have ridden, you've then had a family, got married, and maybe put the motorbike away for a wee while, and you come back. Yeah, you know how to ride a motorbike, but actually, and that's where the Ride Forever program is really, really good. So which is an ACC program, half Kotahi, half ACC, but it's an engagement tool for us to be able to promote it along with safe riding gear. So yeah, it's just another good bit of kit, really.
This is the last one that we'll talk about. So these were some driver licensing resources and tip sheets. There's accompanying videos, and as you can see there, Chrissy Lapine in the middle running a community session with parents and new drivers. So these really are around bringing the road rules to life and just creating a more immersive and comprehensive educational experience. And you may have seen in the Expo video as well that Chrissy was there driving these resources and showing the merits of them to new drivers and users. So these are currently being pushed out through the community policing channels. So we'll stop there and open for any questions, discussion, conversations.
Well, thank you so much for bringing all of that incredible work you're doing in the hearts of our communities to life. Questions from the committee, Councillor Kerr.
Sadly, with such an organisation of yours, the ability to gather statistics to support the accidents that didn't happen is not very easy to gather. So congratulations on what we've seen and follow up on Martin's comments. I'm really concerned about the cut in funding and what the gaps are going to be. So how are you going to manage that? Where's the focus going to be for this next?
Just to be clear on that, we've gone from 1.9 million to 660,000. So that's what we're talking about here.
So we're 2/3 cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you going to weave your magic?
Through you, Chair. Yeah, great question, and actually a really challenging environment that we find ourselves in, because we did have a pretty comprehensive activity list and plan put together that really accelerated our community capability build. So that was, how do we find bodies or trusts or entities or whatever it might be, passionate people within the community who we can start to engage with and provide that assistance, and then they can start delivering for their communities, within their communities, in a way that is suitable for them. So to be quite frank, some of that is going to be on the back burner. However, the program that we have developed is targeted to the most prevalent risks in the region, and is very focused effectively on what we would call coalface. So we're going to see a lot of support with police checkpoint operations and so forth. We will look to, like I say, accelerate that business road safety program, continue the child restraint clinics, things like that. So it will be very much a coalface community delivery. How do we get in and, like Liz said, have those conversations around the smoker table or the dinner table? How do we still do that with limited means?
One further follow-up question.
Yep.
Are you set up, is RoadSafe set up so it could charge for its services? Say I'm the CE of some large entity and I want RoadSafe to come in and do some education within my entity. Can you charge?
Through you, Chair, I don't think there's any reason why Liz and the team couldn't propose to charge industry, for example, for that training that they provide. The problem that creates, of course, is that in a challenging economic climate where everybody is challenged, we may then lose the opportunity to derive those programs out. So we can certainly look at it. And I just wanted to raise one other point, and that was that the team are working with each of your transport teams right now, looking at, because you all have a component of road safe funding that you've allocated in your budgets, as well as Hawke's Bay Regional Council, that's the general rate portion of funding. The team are working with your teams to identify and understand across the region how much of those budgets are to be retained by your councils. likely some will want to cut those. Those that do not, we are trying to encourage you not to cut those, because one clear message from Whakakatahi in terms of road safety funding is that none of this funding shall be used for billboards or education messaging. So messaging and advertising.
Of any sort.
So we cannot advertise or use billboards. We cannot use our funding for any of that. So that will be one cost-cutting measure, obviously, that we will take, because we're not allowed to do that. So
what's the rationale for that?
that's the criteria that we've been given in terms of our funding. So we will continue to work with your organisations, but just reminding you all that there is a local share component that does come from each of the TLAs to the regional councils every year. And the regional council has currently, in its current annual plan, retained the same amount of local share that we were, in comparison to what we were anticipating getting from Hawke's Bay, from Whakakatahi. So our local share component that we've retained
To June 25?
to June 25
Has stayed.
has stayed.
It's thereafter. That's what I was going to
It's
ask.
thereafter.
What's the timing on this tap going 2/3 down? Is that now or is that
Yes.
next June?
This is now.
So have you've already cut back to that? I mean,
As I understand,
Yeah.
the subsidy for our safety program has been,
they should have
is
back.
gone.
Yeah.
Yes, but there should also still be retained a local share component.
I
I
think we need
think
to put,
that's part of the debate within our organisation.
Yeah.
Do we invest $1 in a subsidised program where we get $2 benefit? Or do we invest $1 in an unsubsidised program where we only get $1 benefit? So that is a debate for within our own organisations.
we are, okay, look, we are sort of running out of time, but I'm thinking we need as a collective table here to take back to our local authorities the message that this is incredibly important work and we need, as local authorities, through our share or in kind, to continue to support that as best we can. I think that's really the rub here. What you've brought to light is just how extensive that work is that we've been funding to date. Angela, glad to hear from you.
Thank you, Chair. Just Angela Hallett, Road Policing Manager. Just want to say a big thank you to Liz and all the work that you do, Road Safe Hawke's Bay. This is our most significant partner, to be frank, with influencing death and serious injury and prevention activities. And without the activities that you're running, I think we'd be in a lot worse situation. So very, very passionate about the work that's been delivered. And I was very lucky to be involved in the Youth Expo that we had back in May. That's my first introduction to it in my role. 'Cause obviously the last couple of years we haven't had it with the cyclone and COVID before that. And I just want to note it on the record, please, for police, that this is a really significant bit of work. So investing in our teenagers, the next band of drivers coming through, is a huge part of what we do. And the education, you saw on the board there before, Chrissy Lapine works out of Flaxmere with me on a daily basis, and I understand the work she does in the driver licensing. It's incredible. And she's one of our school community officers, so not even within our road policing branch, but you know, it cuts across all parts of our business. So yeah, just want to really endorse the amazing work that's been done to date, and I think the funding cut by 66% is absolutely appalling, when this is probably the one window we have to actually influence change, apart from enforcement, obviously, which we do. But this is the other good work that we do in the community with everyday drivers, that I think we have such opportunity to influence change. So yes, want to make a comment. Thank you.
Right, Laura, Marcus, and then I do need to draw this to a close. I'm going to put a resolution in a minute.
I was just wondering about the possibility of RoadSafe coming and presenting to our council, because if it is part of our budgets. And
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Councillor Taylor, I don't want to cut on.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that we saw Kelly Anand in those videos, and Connect is very, very strong and supportive of the work that RoadSafe do, and it's that business. You look at the Central Line staff that were in that video. They're firefighters. They're in sports teams. They're in teenage children. They have so much so many tentacles out into the community doing work like that. So I just wanted to actually point that out, and it's great to see. Love it.
Yeah, kia ora, Martin.
Happy.
Yeah, tēnā koe, Liz, thank you for your presentation. I just want to share this experience that goes back about 50 years ago when I went to sleep and I nearly ran off the road, just for that split second. And I've learnt my lesson from that, and to this day, every time I am tired, I turn the heater off, put the blower on, and wind the window down. Because as soon as that wind hits your face, you wake up instantly. Kia ora.
Look, thank you, Peter. Can I just suggest this, that I'm going to move an amended resolution, because it seems to me we're in a situation here of spend a penny to save a pound, where the pound is the cost of the lives saved, all right? So it's immeasurable. And so I'm going to move that we receive and note the paper, but equally that, and Alex, you might want to take a note of this, that we take back to our local authorities the importance of this work and look for ways to continue to support it despite the funding cut.
Happy to second.
All right, so that's the motion. It's seconded by Councillor Kerr. All in favour?
Aye.
Anyone against? I can help you through that later, don't you worry. Okay, we need to move on. We're not, about 10 minutes behind, so I don't want to scrimp the next two reports, albeit that we'll be dealing with a lot of the meat of the NLTP news in the subsequent workshop. Introduce Linda to take us through the Waka Kotahi presentation. You would have received the slides, so some of those might be able to be taken as read, drawing out the highlights. Linda, the floor's yours.
Just to confirm, we're not doing the public transport paper?
Oh.
I mean, I'm happy to go,
You
but,
expert.
but it is there.
Well done. Okay.
And we can go back to public transport.
Let's do it. I'll
Okay,
now.
let's
We'll
crack
come back
on.
to public transport, and please don't let me forget, I was too conscious of the time.
Nice, thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. As noted, we've got a workshop on the NLTP, but do just want to note the launch and adoption of the National Land Transport Programme for 24-27. You will note that there's an indication of 655 million forecast for investment across the Hawke's Bay region, including maintenance and operations, improvements programmes, public transport, but notably as well the road of national significance, the Hawke's Bay Expressway, and also to some very positive news re the proposed funding for the Waikari Gorge realignment. We can jump into this in a bit more detail in the workshop. Also as well, just want to note the tolling announcements that were made by Minister Brown last week now, I think it was, for the tolling of 3 roads across the country. One of them will be of particular interest here, particularly for your industries, in that Te Ahua Turanga, the Manawatu Tararua Highway, is being proposed and out for consultation for tolling. Consultation will open on Monday. The process is online, and it's really worthwhile, I think, for you all just to take the time to have a look at that for, the opportunities and the impacts it'll have in this region, but also as well for future consideration, potentially for other toll roads or road user charging within the Hawke's Bay region. Next slide, please. Oh, no, that one's good. That one's good. Thank you. Sorry. On a related note, time of use charging. The Minister has also made some indications, I think initially at the Local Government New Zealand conference, about a move towards time of use charging. So these are schemes that can be initiated by local authorities, and they'll be operated in partnership with the New Zealand Transport Agency. Any scheme that would be proposed would have to be done public consultation and then be approved by the Minister. NZTA has been instructed by Cabinet to lead the development of the technology, a single technology platform that will be rolled out across the country to support the management of time of use charging.
I think the one thing to really be aware of here is that the net revenue raised by time of use charging must be invested back into the transport system in the same region. So this is a very constructive and positive method to support diversification of revenue for land transport investment. Next steps and timelines for this. The legislation's currently being drafted and is expected to be introduced into the House and move through the Select Committee process by the end of 2024. NZTA, we've got a working group set up to actually map out what our role within this is, but the Minister expects the first schemes could be operating in 2027. Next slide, please. Just a really brief one on this. We are all awaiting the adoption of the new setting of speed limits rule. We are anticipating that that will be adopted and announced by the end of this month, hopefully. That will all give us clarity on how we move forwards from here once we see the detail of what's in and what's out in that new rule. So I don't want to preempt any decisions here, but looks like we should get clarity shortly. Next slide, please. Another hot topic, the emergency works policies and the review of the emergency works policy. You will be aware post the consultation process, and we received a large number of submissions, particularly from our local government partners on this. The board did consider the submissions and on that basis did make some immediate changes to the emergency works policy. They were particularly around definition, process, and the detail essentially within the policy. What they have not decided on is the qualifying events or the FAR rate that's applicable. We are expecting their decision before the end of this year for two reasons. They've requested further work by NZTA officials from a meteorological perspective, as well as a funding and an impact on our finances perspective. And we're also working with Treasury to have a look at other funding options for emergency works in the future. So we'll keep you posted on that because I know it is critical for all of us. Next slide, please. Just bringing it right back to the region, final kind of wrap up, if you like, of what's happened in this NLTP period with our RLTP. Overall, it's a very positive story for the region. The ones that are highlighted in red have either not progressed due to the impacts of the cyclone and the work or local share by our local government partners being reprioritised elsewhere or simply not being available for the projects that were originally proposed here. Everything else has been on track and delivered. So I think we should feel all reasonably comfortable that given the 3 years that have been here in the region, what's been achieved. Next slide, please. I think we've covered the speed side of it. We'll just need to sit tight on that one. On the infrastructure side, you'll be aware the State Highway 51, that project's complete. State Highway 5, the quick win safety improvements, we've got 4 sites have been completed. The other 4 sites are around 80% complete. Final work is weather dependent on those 4 projects, and I think we've got the target completion date by the end of this calendar year. Next slide, please. Maintenance and operations, heading into a big programme of work this year right across Hawke's Bay and also your surrounding regions. You will note that through the NLTP 24-27 and also the GPS, the investment into and lifting the quality of the state highway network in particular is top priority for this government. We're very, very focused on moving freight and people as efficiently as possible. We are just in the final stages of confirming the M&O programme for the 24-25 season, so things might change a little bit. But we're looking at proposed resales of just over 87 kilometres of your network and just over 10 kilometres of full rehab. And then there's a couple of kilometres of AC rehabilitation work as well. What that signals is the need for us to work collectively pretty closely. Big programme, large disruption. And you'll also as well have your own works from a maintenance side of things as well as recovery. So just really critical that we do work together on that to minimise the disruption to the road user. Next slide, please. This is an interesting one. This is first look at how we're performing on our pothole response targets. So you may or may not be aware that we do have very specific targets on how we respond to potholes appearing across the state highway network. We do have an expectation set by the government of 95% of potholes on high classification roads being repaired within 24 hours of identification. For lower classification roads, it's 85%. This was first cut in July. We have to report at a minimum monthly back through to the Minister on how we are performing on this. Didn't quite hit it in July. Some of that's a few teething issues. Some of it's been due to a fair amount of rain as well. And we've also as well had a few glitches in how we report and manage this through our contractors and back into our business. Those settling issues seem to have been worked through, so we're hoping for a much clearer picture on our performance and what we need to continue to improve on in our August stats. But yeah, it's a whole new world for us in terms of how we're responding to these out in the network. Hawke's Bay Expressway. Yeah, I think we're all well aware now the roads of national significance announced Hawke's Bay Expressway in that first tranche. Stage one of this will focus on improvements to the most congested area of your expressway during the peak traffic times. So we've got about 6.5 kilometres of the expressway between the roundabouts at Taradale and also Pakify and Links Road. That's the first cab off the ranks. The teams have been very busy as well as internally in setting this project up for success. We've also had teams out on the expressway, pavement testing, line level boundary surveys being undertaken. Resource consent strategy and initial ecological surveys have also been complete. You'll see ongoing activity, especially on our consents, wildlife permits for stage one over the rest of this year. We are looking to have the investment case for this stage one of the expressway through to the NZTA board by the end of this year, and that will be to seek approval for the funding to be released. Giving you a bit of a longer line of sight, and I know that we'll organise a bit more of a detailed update for you all shortly, but we are aiming to start stage one construction towards the last quarter of 2025. Next slide, last one. We'll hear much more detail on this from our TREC team, who got a bit of a presentation for us after this. But we're all aware Budget 2024 confirmed the further recovery work for the state highway network across Hawke's Bay. The programme overall for Hawke's Bay is expected to be completed by winter 2025. Number of sites that are in construction, heading to construction at the moment and being completed. The forthcoming construction season kicks off this month. Going right through the remainder of this year and then right through next year. So again, I think we'll just need to work to make sure that we've got that free and frank feedback that I know you all share with me regularly on impacts to our road users, just making sure that we iron out any traffic management issues and just keep an eye on those journey times right across the network, particularly that Wairoa to Napier connection. And that's all from me, and happy to take any questions on this or anything else.
Right, question. Thank you, Linda. Questions? Councillor Kerr.
Firstly, an acknowledgement. Once again, the communication from TREC to that to Te Reo community has been outstanding. Every Friday I get a text as an example of what's going to that community, the updates, the spreadsheets. Yeah, we've come a long way since the initial set of grizzles, so compliments on that to your team. I'm really interested in the expressway and the Waikare Gorge. Is there anything that we, this committee, can do to assist in the enabling?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Kerr. What are you thinking?
I wasn't thinking, I was just,
It was an open question.
yeah, so it was a genuine question of, are there things that we, either as this committee or individual organisations can do to help unlock, help speed up, help enable? Yeah, genuine, it wasn't a loaded question, it was a genuine, how can we help?
Thank you, and I do appreciate it. Two things, the advocacy and support from the region and the coordination that's been shown to date has been invaluable from a political perspective, as well as support for our work with our teams. The Hawke's Bay Expressway, I think you know that we're following an accelerated programme of work, and it's also quite a change for us in how we deliver. So I think both continual engagement, but also understanding that that process will look and feel a little different in how we're required to work and our ministers' expectations of us. So a bit of support and understanding on that as we work it all out. I think too, supporting your officers and their time to be involved. That's probably the mission critical part for our project team, is having that local and subject matter expertise, particularly from an impact on your network, as well as understanding impacts on industry and wider road users. Waikari Gorge, I will just say thank you. Consistent and very vocal advocacy on that, and also as well really constructive, particularly working with me, our Chief Executive and our board. I would just ask that we just take a little bit of time to allow us all to just work through exactly how we are going to progress this collectively. So really strong indication that we will partner with you. It's positive news on the realignment, and that we have secured that funding. It has to go through a few internal checks and balances to make sure that that funding is released, but it signifies the board's support for the realignment. So we'll come back to you on that one, but I think it's really positive for your communities, Mayor Little and Councillor Kerr.
And I'll go to Mayor Little now, who's got his hand up with a question.
Yeah, thanks for that, Linda. First of all, we got a letter actually we were about to send out, and the announcement came out, and that was support from Tairāwhiti as well. Martin, you should have received that letter to sign, but we're going to change that letter now. But we had absolute, within hours, that Gisborne and their Transport Committee came back to us to support us on the Waikari Gorge, because this isn't just a Waira thing, this is all the way up the coast. And also it affects Hawke's Bay coming up our way as well, and beyond. So it's really important. I think the biggest thing we're not looking at clearly enough is the cost if we don't do this realignment. That bridge could go out every day with another storm event. It's in a more vulnerable position than it ever has been for the last probably 50 years. And we need to understand it, because Waira probably couldn't handle another 3 months cut off like we were. And just to give an example, our local contractors, our stock companies, trucks and things like that, would get 2 truck and trailer units down in a day. Now they just get 1 and a bit. So it means that they have to pay extra to stay overnight in Hawke's Bay. And it's just a huge cost. And it's to everybody, to forestry, farming, to every industry, AFCO, all I've spoken to Rehetz, it's the same up there. So this is, like I said to you, Linda, this is a real priority that needs to be prioritised, because we would hate to see a fancy 4-lane highway where we can't even get to it, or we can via a GO track. It would just be a real kick in the face for us. So, and I think you've come back yesterday and had some good news for us. So let's keep that happening. But I suggest this committee really connects with its Tairāwhiti counterparts.
Thank you, Mayor Little. Points well made. And I must say, I think it was a tribute to the joined up and aligned approach of the regional leaders collectively. And I've got to thank all of the mayors for that, including yourself, of impressing the relative importance of this gorge project, including the way you've just described, Mayor Little. So any response to that, Linda?
No, just thank you for open communication and transparency, but well noted, Mayor Little, thank you.
I think and also for the advocacy from the agency in terms of taking our combined position forward to that table. and getting this through at the end of the day, because I think it was a fairly, fine run thing and close to the wire. So I just had a question. I'm getting asked lots of questions, like how will the Links Road, back to the expressway, how will it work at the southern end? Are you going to have a bottleneck at the off ramps from the roundabout at Links Road while stage 2 is progressing? What's it going to mean for the estuary if you ever get to there? I understand you're in delivery mode rather than sort of full-scale engagement mode. You've got the designation, but how do we deal with those sort of community conversations, getting information, sharing it with our communities, asking, answering questions? Linda.
All great questions, thank you, Chair. And I think now that we have announced and adopted the National Land Transport Programme, we can kick in with a much higher level of communication and our ability to inform your community and be able to respond to some of these questions. It would have been a little bit horse before the cart to do it prior to that. Cart before the horse, yeah, you know what I mean.
Yep.
You know what I mean.
Transport analogies and multiple user categories.
We'll steer clear of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can address all of those. So if there are particular questions or areas of interest for your community, shoot them through. We'll make sure the project team are across them. But they are engaging with your officers on a regular basis, and we'll have a look at how we can now move forwards, not just through this committee, but in other channels of keeping you informed. On that, I would just note as well, though, it is much more of an inform process rather than a consultation process.
I just would encourage that there be opportunities to ask questions and answer them as this. This is a big deal. So people have their own take on that. Thank you, Angela.
Yeah, I've got a really weird question.
Oh, okay.
Awesome work happening on the roads, maintenance operations and the recovery and everything. We're well involved and connected with the journey manager around watching out for potholes and all sorts of things. But one question I have, and it will be probably for discussions other time, is there any work that could be put into protecting of the asset? Obviously, massive investment into state highways, but we know there's some antisocial road users that destroy the roads regularly. And in Hawke's Bay and Te Rāwhiti every weekend now, we have groups of up 50 to 100 vehicles doing burnouts, destroying the roads, damaging the signs. We know one's contributed to a fatal crash here in Hawke's Bay last year. These are a real problem group, and we're making submissions, or police are making submissions to the Minister of Transport and Police around legislation to look at what we can actually do in that world. But I just wanted to ask, as part of all this amazing work that's going on the roads, what could be done to protect, things like cameras or other ways of surveilling damage that's done, so that we as an enforcement agency can then follow up, deal with criminal actions, but potentially recover costs for damage done to roads, because I know it's a big drag. Every weekend, every Monday I'm looking for, or actually every Saturday, Sunday morning, I'm sending jobs through for your operations people to actually go fix roads or sweep roads for damage that's been done. And Raikako and 50 is a real, regular one to go and look, see what's happened, because the markings on the roads are gone, giveaway signs are gone, all the things that keep people safe on our roads are destroyed regularly, and it's a real pain. Real pain is a polite way of putting it, but yeah, it involves a lot of our resources, and we feel sort of hamstrung. There's not a lot we can do, but we want to sort of acknowledge that it has a lot of damage to the roads, which we want to keep in tip-top condition for everyone using it.
Crikey, that's not an easy one to answer in a short space of time, and I think we'd probably want to have the right people in the room to work out how we do collectively address it. The one thing that I could say is our Minister and the GPS are pretty specific in their views of management and maintenance of the state highway network and enforcement. So we would need to have a look at how we pool our collective resources to do that, noting as well, not just the safety concerns for road users, but the safety concerns for you and your officers as well, in managing and diffusing those situations. It is an ongoing issue right across the central North Island for us as well. With regards to cameras and things, we would need to have a look at what's already existing on the network. We do have the safety camera programme, but it will be pretty limited in how and where that's rolled out and why. Angela.
Thank you. Look, we do need to move on. I do want to get some advice. Mela, did you still have your hand up, or was that another?
Yeah, just had one quick question I should have asked. Linda, is there anything that we've done to date on the Waikari Gorge, and that's land acquisitions, consents, anything like that, that we've let go? Like, are we building and capitalising on what we've done, and we're not going to go back on what we've already done?
We're building and capitalising on what we've already done. We're not going back, Mayor Little.
Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, thank you. Just had a quick comment and a question. The comment relates to just imploring you to always be aware of the struggle that Waipawa is having between Abbotsford Road and Victoria Street. The State Highway 2 section there is very bad, and the threat to local businesses there with the ongoing work or the non-existent work and the waiting for that work to happen is of great concern to those in that area. My question, which just so the committee is aware and I can forward the questions if they wish, I have forwarded Linda an email from one of our ratepayers about a number of safety infringements and lack of safety measures on State Highway 2 between Waipukaro and Waipawa. Ranges from lack of reflectors, a lack of line marking, audio lines, right through to the replacing or not the lack of replacing damaged median barrier sections, and she's listed quite categorically the safety infringements or the lack of safety measures in there, and I just would like a response, Linda, or a plan for the way forward there.
I can give you a detailed response. Some of the matters raised have been checked by our system manager and do meet national standards and national requirements. I would say the highway lighting is as per national standards as well, but that was actually done under a Boost safety programme many years ago, and it was led by Becca. Generally speaking, they would have gone through a safety audit before finalising the programme, but as it stands and how they're working at the moment, it does meet national standards. It's just not what you had prior. There are a couple of bits, though, that I can give confidence straight away to you and your constituent that the white line mark fading. We will be working with your council during your community clean-up day, also coming to that. They'll be looking to reinstate the line marking during that closure. Also the yellow lines near Waipukaro that were degraded, same there. Signage cleaning and repairs, we're aiming to have them done at the same time, so we're trying to make the most of that closure. We're just having a look at the request to convert some of that white lining in ATP with our safety team, if that's possible. And also as well, we're acutely aware of the missing white line where we've done the patching, so that will get addressed in this maintenance season. But I will respond to you directly with a bit more detail so that you can provide answer and confidence to your constituent.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to know that you're taking advantage of that. We're closing the state highway between Waipukaro and Waipawa on September the 22nd for a clean-up. We did it last year very successfully, in fact, being led by our Deputy Mayor Kelly Annand and our fellow councillor Pip Byrne. And so I'm pleased that you're taking advantage of that. That's great.
Thank you.
Look, just one last thing for me. The tolling option investigation, I understand there's a mission or inquiry, there's a submission process about to open, close on 7 October, I think.
Yes.
Would there be support from the committee for me to give some advice, or for us to make a submission from the TAG group around that issue, as it will ultimately, presumably, inform what happens for the expressway? Everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
I don't think look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that we receive the report from the Transport Agency, Regional Relationships Director's Update, and that also we make a submission as a committee on the tolling proposals currently in train. Can I have with a delegation to me, I guess, to oversee that, with advice from the staff? Okay, so that's we've got a mover was Councillor Taylor and a seconder Councillor Price. All in favour?
Aye. Aye.
Anyone against? That's carried. I'm conscious we've got our Trek people waiting here, so we better get them up to the table to share their great news with us. Probably up at the top here is probably the easiest way to hear from us.
No, it's fine. Got the slides with you?
Yes, we have. Thank
Fantastic.
you. Introduce yourselves, please, and you're most welcome, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Acknowledge elected officials in the room and the wider committee. Thanks for your time. Jacob Laird, Regional OIM Rep for TREC. I sit within TREC as an employee of New Zealand Transport Agency and work for Scott here as the OIM.
Yeah, morning everyone. Scott Elworth, and I'm the Owners Interface Manager for NZTA to the contract. Yeah, and Jacob's going to lead us through our progress in the month and what we have ahead.
Thanks, Scott. Just
Before you start, could you please explain your titles? NZTA Owner Interface Managers.
It's basically the owner's representative inside an alliance model.
Okay.
So it would be like, just the project manager or the contract.
we advocate for NZTA. Likewise, Daniel advocates for KiwiRails.
Thanks, guys.
Cool. I just want to acknowledge too, Chris Marty in the corner. Both Scott and I are being deployed to Ron's projects. Chris will be assuming this position as of next month, as well as the project manager for the Waikari Gorge project moving forward. I'm just going to launch into, if we can just go to the first slide, please. A progress update. There's a few slides here, so I'll try and get through these as quick as possible. Look, June and July was a busy month. We had 28 active sites on the network here in Hawke's Bay. 15 sites from previous months have been completed and handed back to us as the asset owner. We've got some more recovery sites starting soon, and we expect to have approximately 20 to 30 running actively on the network, both across State Highway 5, 38 and 2 through August and September. Let's go to the next slide, please. A quick focus on State Highway 5 recovery. There's been a number of sites that have been completed of late. The one that is probably of greatest achievement is the Captain's Culvert, which is north of the Harapaki wind farm. That particular site was incredibly challenging, and it's just good to have that the team finish that site and be able to focus on something else on State Highway 2. Started this month was the Dillons Hill culvert repairs and north of Hill Road culvert repairs. What you'll see as we go through this update is very similar work on the network. The cyclone gave us a lot of challenges, but at the same time, a very familiar set of circumstances at every major fault. So our teams have been able to apply some similar methodologies to repairing those over time. A quick update on 38. Three major sites were completed there. There is a large scale repair as well at Piripawa, and then 2 more starting this month. I believe the Mangakino Bridge scale repair is starting slightly later than planned, but still starting this month. State Highway 2 has been a massive focus for TREC in general. We saw probably the most significant damage in terms of small scale, but tight clusters of sites that needed repair along that particular section of State Highway. You can see there we've completed quite a few of late, and as we look at the next slide, what we're finishing soon is a lot of ground anchoring, retaining walls, and a lot of sites coming to an end within Devil's Elbow. Coming soon on the next slide, we've got the Whirinaki Culvert repair, a major slip at the White Pine Bush to be continued on, Tongoil Falls Reserve, Mohaka slip slide repairs, and Devil's Elbow slip slide repairs as well. Quick focus on the Waikari Bailey bridge deck on the next slide. That bridge deck's going to be uplifted towards the end of the month and replaced with a stronger decking system. Similarly, we have made allocation within the region for a replacement Bailey Bridge in case of a significant flood event that particularly could wash the existing one away. That Bailey Bridge equipment is located here in Hastings and is within fairly quick reach of Waikari Gorge if required. I'll take a quick pause here just to acknowledge Mia Little's query earlier and to build on Linda's comment. Waka Kotahi is continuing to press with the resource consent application for the realignment. We have also got a design for the Waikari alignment at 50% and property agreements ready to be executed as well, pending confirmation of funding.
Sorry, what was the thing you had at 50%?
Design.
Design.
Yeah. The project's in a very good position. Right. Just a quick look at Devil's Elbow on the next slide there. Sites DKO, FPG, not in alphabetical order, are looking to be handed back very soon to NZTA and those that use the network. A significant achievement for Trek and particularly those who live out those ways. A significant reduction in traffic management and a reduction in delay time. I covered off what's in the next slide, so if we just skip through to stage 2, Devil's Elbow. So these are the sites that Trek will be focusing on next, probably the most complex sites within Devil's Elbow itself. In particular, which is on the actual Devil's Corner, Devil's Elbow, is significantly complex. The crew are working basically against a vertical drop-off and are having to construct a lot of temporary staging to fit in large-scale machinery and piling rigs in order to get in there. And the reason we've left that till last is just because of the complexity level in itself. There's a lot of work to be done in there. You can see in the next slide the scale of that complexity. Particularly that's that photo there with the blue cloud. That's where we need to effectively roll in a whole lot of heavy machinery, and you can see there that the available space there is very limited. I just wanted to caveat for those that are talking with their communities, that we will continue to experience some delays at the site, but there is a lot of care and attention being paid to particularly traffic management and trying to move people through the sites as efficiently and safely as possible.
Through you, Mr. Chair, can I just make a comment and question before we move off State Highway 2?
Sure.
To the wider committee, this is some of the presentation that was given to the Pururino community and Te Tera community. We had Councillor Charlie was there as well. It went down really well, this full explanation. So I'd like to, I'm not sure whether I offer or I ask, to have another similar such meeting in that community to let them know, and to do that again maybe before Christmas, to let them know where we're at, because it was so, it's truly appreciated the amount of information that was shared about the difficulty on that site.
Yep, no problem.
Brilliant, thank you, Councillor Kerr. Please
There-
do.
Oh, I apologise.
Please do carry on. Yep.
The last slide is a rail update, of which my colleague Daniel will touch on. I just wanted to express my gratitude and for the support of elected officials. Without you, particularly the input you've had at public meetings and whatnot, without your support, we wouldn't have got the community on board and been able to get through a significant chunk of this work like we have. So thanks very much, Dan.
Kia ora, I'm Daniel Hedefin, and as well as being here for sort of general rail things and the Transport Committee, also I've got the same role as Scott and Jacob within Trek, but from a key rail perspective. So I just got these 4 bullet points to quickly cover off what the rail side of Trek work is. So we still have nearly 24 sites south of Hastings, said 23 there. Most of those are actually south of Kapua, so south of Takapau, and I think outside of the Hawke's Bay Council area, but obviously they need to be fixed for the Palmerston North to Napier line to be back to what it was pre-cyclone. Those sites, a lot of them aren't visible from the either local roads or the state highways, and they're a bit smaller in scale than some of what you've seen of the Trek State Highway 2 works, but somewhat similar, lots of rock bolting, slip repairs and drainage work, and most of it between Dannevirke and Kapua, where the topography is a bit more challenging. We hope to do that work within the next 10 to 11 months, so to be finished mid next year. That's all getting delivered by Trek. Then when we come to Hastings to Napier, there's the Tutakuri River Waitangi Stream Bridge. So there is a decent update on that. We note here it's looking at repair or replacement. So the photo there is showing the repairs that were done last year to reopen in September 15th to get between Hastings and Napier. Decision's been made that's going to be turning those temporary repairs into permanent ones. So the bridge will stay on its current vertical and horizontal alignment. And we're working through the options as to how to extend those. It was 5-year design life, those steel repairs, how to extend them to match the other sections of the bridge that are the original pieces. So for context there, it's a 260 metre long bridge. About 60 metres of bridge was washed out, and it's the temporary repairs. We're looking to see if we can make those as permanent and give them a design life to match the other 100 metres on each side of the river. And I think something just to note, there was an award that the contractor United Civil got, that was in the Hawke's Bay today I saw, and it mentioned about the depth of those temporary piles. So they are 35 metres deep compared to the piles of the remainder of the bridge, the 1936 piece. They're only in the order of 10 to 12 metres. So in some ways that temporary repairs are more resilient than what was the original bridge. And it's a 1936 bridge, so trying to get that to match temporary pieces to match the overall. We're talking with Hawke's Bay Regional Council about the flood flow effects, so that's a bit of an ongoing discussion. I might just pause on that one because I know that's...
Yeah, I'm going to drop anchor on that, I'm afraid. You say a decision's been made to effectively replace it with the same vertical and horizontal alignment. We've had very strong recommendations from an independent review panel and from Tonkin and Taylor, who was commissioned by the organisation. We've got to do bridges differently, and we've got to plan for them in our regional plan differently, and that this cannot be a debris trap, that there are potentially catastrophic impacts for flooding of Awatoto, which has got $800 million worth of infrastructure in it. For it to be hearing that a decision has been made that this will happen is actually extremely alarming. I know you're having conversations with our organisation, but this cannot be. We need to understand the flooding implications of this. This is really, really significant, Daniel, and this needs to go to the highest level. We need to be understanding what the implications of that are for flooding before a single further sod is turned in what I might call aquatic terms.
Yeah, there's a bit of...
I just literally cannot put that message strongly enough. I don't know how well it's joined up in terms of flood modelling and resilience and what have you, but this is right at the mouth. This is the last point of our flood path.
Yeah, there's a couple of details that, one, in the making the temporary permanent, we will be trying to improve on the flood flows through, improve on what they were pre-cyclone by doing some works in the riverbed. Need to get the detail of that sorted with Hawke's Bay Regional Council as to is it going to be a benefit before we do it. Another piece is that this bridge is a piece, definitely a piece of the puzzle, but it's not the whole. The downstream State Highway 51 bridge, which is on similar level. If you were to replace the rail bridge at a higher, longer piece, doesn't really have much of effect unless you've joined up with the road bridge as well.
Yeah, it cuts both ways though, doesn't it? So.
Yeah, so the piece that where Kirail is looking to engaging with NZTA and Hawke's Bay Regional Council together, so Regional Council has asked, can we all meet to see if we can align the future plans for both these bridge assets and the flood protection assets. So indicatively, a 1936 bridge doesn't have a indefinite future life, that there will be a point where the bridge as a whole needs to be looked at again. We just can't do that right now. So we're looking to see aligning the future planning of this rail bridge with the roading bridge and whatever plans are for the flood modelling. Whether that can be done, that'll be to be seen.
Those decisions, when are we talking about the more permanent replacement work actually starting? Like, when does this become irreversible?
It will be a modest investment to turn these into permanent assets. We want to do that within the next 12 months.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Move on. We will come back to this in due course.
Can I just comment? I'm quite shocked that it's going to be made permanent. That wasn't the signal at all that we've received. I might have missed something, but it was pretty clear that it is a trap for debris, which concerns me from a Napier point of view because it's one of our routes. in and out of town. So I just say I'm absolutely shocked when you said it's going to be made permanent. Certainly not the indications we were given.
I think, Daniel, you've heard the message, and it will be shared at other levels. But thank you, Councillor Price, we're on the same page there. Carry on.
Okay, Napier to Wairau, there's still not a decision on the future for that. That's, as I think people probably already aware, it's quite a complex piece on the business case and relating with QRL's insurance and other pieces that need to get considered. So that's, I don't have a time frame for that decision to be made, but we are looking to, via TREC, try and stop the line deteriorating any worse, and that's through what we call duty of care work. So in the June, I think it was late June storm that came through, we did have another significant washout just north of the East River, doing work to try and prevent that happening again, but the line, it remains pretty vulnerable and fragile, so those things may happen despite the best intents, because we had done a lot of work to try and prevent that happening. And then Wairau to Gisborne, that's going to remain mothballed, and again, we're doing duty of care works just to stop either neighbours detrimentally affecting the rail corridor or the same in reverse.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Sorry for biting your head off before, but you were the messenger. And hey, so any questions for the TREC team or Daniel about this before we close out this agenda item? It's incredibly useful information. There's a lot going on. Mayor Little, anything that you wanted to ask the team here?
Yeah. So are we going to get, now some of this work's getting completed, are we going to halve the cones and are we going to be able to get some of our passing lanes back?
Great question.
Yes, as a short answer.
Great answer.
The cones are there to protect people, but also the hazard. So it will make some conscious decision making around what temporary traffic management can be uplifted and when.
Cool, that'd be great because, mate, we're getting a lot of frustration. We seem to travel 5Ks before there's actually a work site. So if you could really, and I know this government, that's one of their big missions, but let's lead it and try and make the road more efficient as possible. I used to be able to put a cone on the road to shift my bulls up the road and everyone would slow down. Now they'd probably just run it over and think, what the hell that cone's sitting in the middle of the road for? So so we've really just got to, get back to normality. Thank you.
All right. We are grateful for you guys coming along. We've seen the good work you're doing and keep it going. All right, can we move that the paper be received from the Transport Rebuild TREC update? Thank you, Councillor Kerr. I've got a seconder. Councillor Price, all in favour?
Aye.
Right, now, just before we get on to verbal advisory verbal updates from our advisory members, I want to go back to two things. One, item 3 of the agenda, which one of my favourite topics. I'm dismayed that I skipped over public transport. The information is all there. There's some good positive trends. Thank you for including the backstory information to give us some more context. I'm going to make this a 2-minute agenda item so that we're going to talk about public transport future as a region later. So a very brief question or comment only, please.
The second Go bus, is that back on track? Is the impact of the Go bus being, My Way bus. Thank you, Katrina, for throwing the idea. The My Way bus was out of action. Is that back in action?
Yeah.
Third low floor. Through the chair, yes. The third bus, which is a low floor one, has been back on the road for maybe 3 weeks.
Lovely, thank you.
And just a very quick headline, we're going to cover it later with the NLTP, but we've got about the public transport funding we expected, so we can keep the lights on. There will still be public transport, and we're looking at the way we can make that the most effective around our new transport model. That's we'll come back to that perhaps when we get to the NLTP. Can I move, please, that the public transport staff report be received? And I'll have a second to Councillor Taylor. All in favour?
Aye.
And against? No, right. I want to make one more resolution. Oh, well, look, sorry, Russell, is there anything you wanted to say?
Oh, there's quite a lot I could say.
Yeah, I know, but we're going to come back to
Oh, no,
public
that's fine,
transport.
sorry.
We'll come back to transport later in the workshop, and I'm trying to save time for that, okay? And you can maybe share about the plans for how we might progress from here as part of that. So I also want to move a separate motion, which I should probably have covered under road safe, but I'm just going to take Chair's discretion to put a motion on the table now that we seek advice from road safe on supporting the vulnerable user category petition presented to us this morning with a view to making a submission in support of that. I'm going to put that motion. Would someone like to second that?
Delighted.
Okay. Anyone else want to speak to that? Anyone, all in favour?
Aye.
Anyone against? Carried. Okay.
So Martin, will you fine tune that resolution?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. But it's basically to
Yep.
seek advice and make a submission as an RTC on that petition.
Supporting that petition.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Now we've got probably 5 or so, or maybe 10 minutes to hear from our much valued advisory members. And I'm going to start because I didn't acknowledge before. Nicholas, thank you for being here with us from the port's perspective, and I'll start with you. What would you like to share that's top of your mind at the moment in a transport sense?
Good morning. So first, I'd like to recognize the efforts been made and the progress on the network, the road network, because obviously it's about moving people, but also it's about moving freight, connecting us to Tarafiti, Topo, and south. So that's really great, and hopefully will in turn improve productivity for trucking operators and access to the port. The other obviously is the announcement of the Hawke's Bay Expressway. Again, great for connecting the port with the Hastings and Central Hawke's Bay, but also when you put this together with the Manawatu Tararua Highway, then eventually will form a stronger east-west corridor, which is something we've been advocating for some time. Try to have a strong east-west corridor as opposed to the traditional north-south supply chain in New Zealand. So this is going to we see the right direction from our point of view. The other thing is in our mind, will have an impact on eventually quantity of merchandise moving on the network and what sort of modes is announcement that's expected on Monday the 9th from Winston Pulp. Winston Pulp is one of our biggest customers for the port, and we're receiving one full train a day. So depending on the outcome of that process, it will have an impact obviously on the port operation, but also the quantity of merchandise, whether it's logs, pulp, timber, moving on our network, and it could be road or rail depending on the future of that operation. So something to keep in mind on how this it's a reflection also on, it will have an impact eventually on the usage of the network from a transport point of view from Hawke's Bay into the rest of the New Zealand.
Thank you very much. Could we hear perhaps now from Angela?
Greetings. Just really quickly, police have signed off with NZTA recently RPIP, which is our Road Policing Investment Plan program. So yeah, we're heavily focused on delivering that, which is pretty much breast screen every driver we can to deter, obviously, drink driving or impaired driving. So that's hopefully something you'll see more and more of, as us targeting those high and extreme risk times. As a country, we're just making sure we cover that off. So yeah, a lot of education for all of our police officers. So it's not just our road policing team of 53 doing all the work in Eastern, but all of our staff leaning in and doing that every time they stop a car. So just trying to get us delivering well in that regard, and speed enforcement on the rural roads. So everything 70 k's and over, particularly ones without the median barriers, all those nice safety features. Trying to have our police on those roads to prevent death and serious injury. We're tracking along pretty much the same as we were last year or similar with death and serious injuries at the moment, although just to note that the motorbikes death and serious injuries, it's been an increase this year, noticeable. I think we've had 5 fatalities in Eastern. That includes Te Rāwhiti, and 9 serious injury motorcycle crashes. So yeah, the work, can't reiterate more than what was said before with Liz, partner agencies around, education around that with motorbike riders, and the prevention space is a big part of what we do. So yeah, just want to like that. That's about it from me. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Happy from
Yes,
the Māori
kia ora,
community.
Martin. For iwi, we reflect upon Mātauranga Māori, and we know for a fact the impact of the environment that it has on us all. And so we're all in the same waka when it comes to the environment. So to you, Linda, and to all your amazing team, all your branch managers who support you, and all that work that you guys are doing on our roads, ka nuta mihi ki a koutou. And I understand all the work that you are going through, Martin, and your team, Katrina and Bryce, and yes, and by the way, to mihi atu ki Russell, our new transport manager. Just met you this morning, but I actually met this gentleman a couple of years ago when he was a branch manager for GoBus. So, ka nuta mihi ki a koe. So yeah, so that's all I want to say at this stage, and it's all about mahi tahi, working together, ko tahitanga. Kia ora.
Thank you very much. Look, can I segue off that I'm really, really remiss again. I've had a shocker of a day chairing this meeting. I had, I guess, overlooked the fact that I haven't introduced you guys to Russell before. I had to the council and I got that mixed up in my head. It's only just dawned on me that Russell is new to you. He's new to our organisation. We're absolutely thrilled to have him on board, and we'll be hearing more from Russell in our workshop. But just to give you an opportunity before I go to the other members to do what I should have done before, out of respect. Hello, Russell.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll come back and hear more from Russell a bit later on, but yeah, we've got a real asset there. Ian.
I've got nothing of significance to report, thank you. Just acknowledge, obviously, the government's latest announcement from our industry perspective on the funding that's coming forth. We support it 100%.
Right, excellent, glad to hear that. And I was interested in your take on the vulnerable user, pass slow and wide reference from Julia this morning. She noted that she'd had really good sort of feedback and response from the freight community. So
It's unfortunate, possibly, for the cyclists and the walking fraternity, but we've just got to put our priorities forward to get the structure back in a reasonable state, I think.
Yeah, I understand. All right. Daniel, was there anything else you wanted to add to what you shared earlier from Kiwi?
The pieces I covered before in the cyclone recovery, that's all funded through QRL's insurance, but there is other funding for maintenance operations and general upgrades, the rail network improvement plan. So there were some indications in the GPS early in the year, and then that was confirmed within the June government budget announcement of what QRL said is a healthy level of investment in the ongoing rail network as a whole. How that applies to the Palmerston North to Napier specifically, the details of that aren't sorted till later in the year. I was just checking notes. I don't have a specific date, but there will be ongoing works to improve bridges, culverts, those sorts of things. QRL doesn't always get into the detail of exactly those to the granular level of line sections of something like Palmerston North Napier, but yeah, there will be work continuing, and it's a definite concern, like Napier Port mentioned, the future of WPI, because that train a day, that was quite an important revenue source for QRL on the Palmerston North Napier. So yeah, short-term transport's pretty tough at the moment, And yeah, we're looking to see sort of how that pans out with WPI.
Right, thank you. Alex?
Kia ora. Thank you, Mr. Chair. As most of you will know, Te Whatu Ora is currently undergoing resetting of the organisation and putting a little bit of strain on the work that we are able to deliver. As such, the report that Bridget signalled at the previous meeting around transport and health is still in the pipeline, but has been delayed due to the reprioritisation of work in the current environment. So we are hoping to still have that report out. It's just not as a timely manner as we were hoping it to be. And we've just wanted to reiterate the importance and thank everybody who's been working on the Restoring Roading Network works for us to be able to deliver our services to communities in Wairoa, Central Hawke's Bay, and reiterate the importance of the public transport network to the kaimahi of Te Whatu Ora as well, who use that to transport between the now numerous offices across Hawke's Bay that we have. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a great bringing to our attention of the links between your world and our world, and why it's so important to have you here. Look, I think that's all of the advisory groups. We have, by the looks of it, some guests from the Ministry of Education have arrived. We're probably going to break for lunch now, so we can come up and meet you personally and then resume with the workshop in about half an hour. Is lunch here?
It should be momentarily.
All right, well,
I will double check.
question, do we carry on or do we?
No, to take a break.
Yeah, we need to take a break. apparently. So we'll take a break now and we'll resume probably at 12:40. Councillor Kerr?
Just before we close this part of the meeting, in discussion with JAG at Hastings District Council, I'm wondering if the committee would be interested in Hastings Council doing a presentation on our cyclone recovery, given the scale and scope of the damage that was done in our network, and the fact that the staff are finally getting a little bit of breathing room to be able to put together a presentation, if the committee would be interested.
To the next RTC meeting?
The next RTC
Sure.
meeting.
Okay, we'll take a note of that.
Right. Thanks,
Thank you.
Jag.
Well, look, I think that's the end of the formal part of the meeting, but I guess the workshop can be probably more interesting and exciting sometimes than the formal agenda papers, although I think that has been a particularly interesting set of presentations and discussions to date. Okay, so we'll break till 12:40. Right?
Do you close the
Lunch
meeting?
is there.
Oh, look, I didn't move or second receive the verbal advisory reports. Councillor Kerr, Councillor Taylor, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Thank you. We need to get a new chair.
And do you need to
We
close
need to close the meeting.
I don't know. I'll take up his advice. I was thinking we're still here together as a group.
Who's leaving? No one's leaving? So
I think we
can leave.
Sorry, apologies, Mr. Chair, isn't the workshop a totally separate entity to the actual official meeting?
I'm taking a tikanga lead here on whether the meeting's finished, whether we need a karakia at this point. Is that what you?
Okay, no, I was talking about actually closing the meeting, not whether there was a karakia.
Okay.
No one's leaving, we can leave our
Don't worry
karakia
about
for
it.
later.
Yeah, we'll hold the karakia over, meeting closed.
I'll just say up through then, for our kai. Ki noi tātou, e te atua whakapainga, e nei kai heoranga mo mātou tīna na whāngai hoki o mātou wairu ki te taro te ora ki a iu klaiti hoki. Tō mātou ariki, āmene.
Meaning.
Thank you, Api.